Alright, we have a very special champion on our hands here. Kushala is honestly one of the best additions in a while to the contest. And why is that? Well, she is just very good at what she does. So her role is a dedicated damage dealer and buff punisher. So she has access to Nullify and Soul Barb. And those two things are what make her so good in my opinion, because having two forms of buff control or like buff punishment is just so insane to me, right? But not only that, she has access to blessings as well, and these blessings give her massive benefits. She also has bleed and incinerate immunity, which is pretty good. She has access to incinerate damage, which is very potent, and degeneration damage as well. She also has access to heal block or reverse with her signature ability, and she has all energy attacks plus ignition buffs. Now these ignition buffs are another reason why I like her so much, because champions that bring buffs to the table I am a huge fan of, like Mojo, Spider-Man Supreme, and now Kushala. But let's talk about her abilities now. What does Kushala do? Well, she has 3 blessings that you activate on parry, on heavy hit, or on intercept. Now, the wisdom one lets her block unblockable, which is a pretty massive ability that's great for a ton of matchups, and she also regens off of blocked hits. She also has the Blessing of Justice, which makes the opponent more aggressive, and it also increases the potency of her damaging effects by 10%. That is great. Having a blessing that makes the opponent more aggressive is good, because her next blessing is all about intercepting, and if the opponent's more aggressive, you can get intercepts a lot easier. So this last blessing here increases her ability power rate by 15% and also reduces the opponent by the same amount. And a quick tip, if you activate these blessings during your special attack or your opponent's special attack, you get increased duration on them, and additionally, whenever you activate a blessing while 2 other ones are already active, you pause your blessings for a given amount of time. So be sure to just always have that pause active as much as you can, because it really does help Kushala maintain those blessings a lot easier. So these are the blessings, and now let's talk about her special attacks. So first things first, she gains plus 35% effectability accuracy for each unique blessing, and this is important because most of her abilities are percentage-based chances. So she kind of makes some guaranteed chances once she has 3 blessings active, which is very cool. So, Ignition on light attacks, it's a buff that does nothing except it looks kind of cool, so there is that. But you have a 40% chance to inflict Ignition, and this increases if the opponent is soul barbed. But also keep in mind, you have the blessing ability accuracy active as well. So it's pretty much a guaranteed chance once she really gets going. And additionally, on the SP1, you have a 50% chance to nullify any buff on the opponent. Your ignition buffs or like the opponent's base buffs, right? And this is good because with the blessings up, it becomes a guaranteed nullify. So she really shuts down a lot of buff heavy matchups. And additionally, if you have a soul barb active, you get plus 4 incinerate. So that's some pretty nice extra damage. Additionally, the SP2 inflicts a soul barb, and this soul barb is increased per each buff consumed and per incinerate on the opponent. And this is another form of buff control. So yeah, she has some amazing buff control or buff punishment. Now the SP3, you inflict degen per blessing, you get all 3 blessings, and you also get plus 4 seconds as a duration bonus for every blessing going forward. Now that's pretty dang cool, and yeah, those are her special attacks and her unique abilities. But now, her signature ability. So the spell pausing duration is increased when you have like all 3 active, and additionally, debuffs can now be replaced with passive effects that are more potent, and this chance is increased with the number of blessings active. And last but not least, she does not benefit from the Despair Mastery, but instead, she reduces healing per debuff or passive on the opponent, and any point in despair increases the amount per debuff or passive, and it also increases the maximum cap. So she can honestly heal reverse eventually, which is very, very solid. And yeah, overall, a pretty good signature ability that is worth investing 6 stones into. But now let's talk about her strengths overall. So I feel like she has some of the best buff punishment or control in the game. Her SP1 is so easy to access and it nullifies every buff, which is so powerful. But that soul barb as well is just so dang useful. It's been good for Mordo, it's been good like to counter Adam Warlock, but now Kushala has it and she does it really well, if not better than Mordo. Now here's the coolest thing. She can pick either one or do both. But let's say the opponent is like nullify immune, right? No big deal, just soul barb them. Let's say you have to nullify their buffs because they are very punishing, then just drop the SP1. And if the opponent is incinerate immune, then just drop the soul barb. Like, it's so crazy how you can just go back and forth for your form of punishing buffs. That's why she is so good in my opinion, because having that choice of just picking a very strong soul barb or just getting some insane incinerate damage is really cool. So Kushala is just so great in that regard, but that's not it. She also has a good immunity set, and she also brings her own buffs to the table, which is one of the best things to have for a Mystic character. Some Mystic characters are just really underwhelming whenever there aren't any buffs, like Symbiote Supreme, but with Kushala, you bring your own buff, so you're guaranteed to have some damage output at least, which is always a great thing. And also, her damage output is very strong, so there is that as well. And also her very niche stuff like blocking unblockable and having access to heal block / reverse with even passive effects. So I feel like her kit is just really well done. But now let's see Kushala in action. So first up, a quick damage test. Let's just get a feel for the champion, right? And for these short fights, I just go for the SP1. The incinerates do more than enough damage to get the opponent down. So yeah, SP1 spam is the way to go for short fights in my opinion. Now, as you can see here, I built up the blessings by dropping a heavy attack with a parry and then intercepting right after, and that gives me the 3 blessings for the spell pause and then the increased ability accuracy. So this is the result, just a lot of extra damage and just, yeah, very strong DPS overall. So this ends the fight in about 30 seconds, which is very good for a rank 2 7-star. 200,000 health, so yeah, not too bad in the slightest. But now we have 700,000 health. This is a massive step up, and she does even better here, to be honest. So now what I want to do is I want to drop the SP2 for the soul barb, which gives us extra incinerates on the SP1, and this just leads to a massive damage bump. Now her damage output, like I said, is very good, and here's a quick example why. So the soul barb is doing 3,000 per tick, not too shabby at all. But now check this out. We're going to get the intercept here. Or no, we don't. We just dropped the SP1, which is also fair enough. And yeah, the damage output now is pretty dang crazy, man. That is over 7,000 on the incinerates. And now we have 22 stacked up, which is doing some pretty massive damage. And then we drop one more SP1. And just look at this, man. 32 incinerates, about 15,000 per tick, and yeah, he is just done for. And that was 700,000 health in under a minute right there. Very good stuff. But now we have Gauntlet Terrax. Gauntlet Terrax is not an easy fight in the slightest, right? This dude is a roadblock for many, but Kushala wipes him. Completely wipes him out. It is so crazy how fast she takes this fight. I know Absorbing Man does it like the fastest, but still, she takes this fight really well. So we drop the SP2 right here, and the Soul Barb is doing pretty nice for now, but the Incinerates are where it's at for this matchup. So here we drop it. We have 16 Incinerates now. We drop another SP1, and it gives us 25, so looking pretty good so far. We drop a heavy attack to get the blessings up again, and then we drop another SP1, and this is just crazy at this point, man. So much damage output. We drop yet another SP1 because the power gain is just insane for us right now. And yeah, this matchup is over. 40 plus incinerates. He just melted in about 44 seconds. That is crazy. And now we have another Terrax that has unlimited power, and with unlimited power, whenever a buff is nullified, they gain like a burst of power, right? And this is why she is so good, because you can't nullify them or else you'll just get SP3'd. However, she has Soul Barb as a replacement for that, so you can't really stop her buff control. If you can't nullify them, just Soul Barb them. If you can't Soul Barb them, which is not a thing right now, then you can just nullify them. So it's honestly just insane how versatile she is when it comes to buff control or buff punishment. And yeah, this matchup is over. 2 Soul Barbs and he is done for. And that was like, what, 31 seconds. Now we have this Angela on the same node. And Angela is pretty much nullify immune as well. But guess what? We have Soul Barb. So that doesn't really matter, right? Soul Barb is so powerful. With Mordo, it's always been really good. And Mordo is a fantastic champion. But Kushala is the better champion overall, I feel like. So yeah, if you want Soul Barb, I think Kushala is the way to go now, because check out this damage output, man. We drop the heavy attack, we get the blessing pause, and then look at this craziness. It's just so wild how good the Soul Barb is with her. And yeah, Angela just melts, and that was another 30-second fight. Now we have this Incinerate lane. It's just like, Incinerate damage is good here, and she is your resident Incinerate champion. She has good Incinerate damage, and she just benefits really well from Incinerate nodes. So yeah, there is just a very strong Incinerate damage dealer. Of course, there's a Soul Barb as well that is a good source of damage output, but yeah, the Incinerates really stack up and really make a huge difference for Kushala. So Incinerate immune characters kind of get past her unless they have a ton of buffs like Super Scroll. So yeah, this champion can be stopped pretty well, but also sometimes it's just really hard to compete with, right? But yeah, that fight was just a breeze for her. Another 30-second fight, so that's quite comical. Now we have this Civil War Zone lane. This has return policy, so you can't nullify the buffs. However, she has Soul Barb, so that nullified punishment no longer matters for Kushala, right? So it's just so crazy, man, how good she is at having dual purpose buff punishment. Because look at this damage output, over 9,000 per tick, and it just gets higher, and he is melting. He is melted. The fight's over now, pretty much. Look at that damage output. It's just absurd. And that was like, what, 20 something seconds. You'll love to see it. And right here, another example of why she is so good at buff controlling or buff punishing. This Vulture is Incinerate immune, so you can't damage him with the nullifies, right? However, he is not Soul Barb immune, so check this out. He just gets melted yet again. It is so crazy how good she is at just punishing buffs. I think this is her best use for sure. Of course, she is a great damage dealer too, but this is like where the real sauce is at, I feel like. And yeah, another 30-second fight in the books. You love to see it. And now we have this Biohazard matchup, which is just standard, standard bleed immune stuff, right? But I gotta showcase it because she does have bleed immunity. She has Incinerate immunity as well, so she can take Hazard Shift in Alliance War. If there is like a pretty annoying cosmic character placed on defense that has Hazard Shift or Biohazard, she is your girl, right? She will do the fight very, very well. So here we drop the Soul Barb. Does some pretty nice damage, but this is just the beginning of the damage output. So we get the intercept going, we drop the SP1 here, and the damage output is looking very, very good now. And yeah, this fight is now pretty much wrapped up, just like that, because Kushala is crazy damage-wise. Yeah, just look at that Incinerate damage, man. It's so powerful. And this matchup is now over in about 40-something seconds, so that is quite crazy. But like I said, she is your resident Incinerate champion. So here we have Selective Time Stream, which is a very weird node that I feel like, I don't know. It's really weird, right? But she still is great for it because she has Incinerate, so she just counters it completely. So here I drop the SP1, we get some pretty nice damage here. And now we block out Selective Time Stream, which is perfect. But then check out this next Incinerate batch. It does some pretty spiky damage because of Incinerate vulnerability. And that's why she is so good for Incinerate lanes, because she just has so much Incinerate all the time, so it's so fun. But yeah, this matchup is over in about 30 seconds, which is kind of the normal for her at a 7-star rank 2 level. So that's very good stuff for a Mystic character, because honestly, Mystic characters aren't known for their DPS, right? But Kushala definitely contends with not only just the Mystic damage dealers, but also the general damage dealers across the battle realm. So that's why I'm such a big fan of this champion, because I love my damage dealers. They're the best type of champions in this game, I think. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think they're my favorite. They're so fun to play. So yeah, having another damage champion that's Mystic, so she also has buff control, is just so cool. And yeah, that matchup was also insanely fast. Another 30-second matchup, so there is that. But now it's time for the big stuff. We have this Eternity of Pain Hercules, and this is quite the fun matchup. Well, it's not, because I cannot stand fighting Hercules. He is the bane of my existence. I think he's a fun champion, but fighting against him is a nightmare. I hate the Infuriate so much, but you know what? Kushala, she gets my revenge. She gets my revenge for me. So here I dropped the SP2, and the Soul Barb does some pretty good damage. But this is just the beginning, right? We're just getting started here, because check out the Incinerates after this, man. The Incinerates are just so powerful here because of the Foresight Fury passive. So here I dropped the SP1, and check out this damage output, man. It is so wild. Then we're just getting started here, like I said. We drop it again, and he is melting so fast now. And the Incinerate is just doing so much damage. And here we nullify the Indestructible and the Unblockable, so there is that as well. And then the Immortality, guess what? It's gone. And that was a sub 1 minute solo of this Eternity of Pain Hercules. So powerful, man. Just such a strong champion that is just so good at buff control as well, right? But now we have the Sabretooth boss. No big deal. You want to have a lot of debuffs on him, because that reduces his Fury duration, and once the Fury expires, he takes a lot of damage. So her Incinerate should be great here, but also she can reverse or block the healing, which is also a great thing. So here I dropped the SP2 for the extra Soul Barb and for the Incinerate damage bonus. And now it's time to go in with Kushala, and here she really does deliver, man. We drop our first SP1 here, and it does some pretty nice damage output. Look at those Incinerates, 15 of them to start off this matchup. Then we go back in, get the Intercept yet again, drop another SP1, and now things are looking very good for us. Here he drops the SP1, no big deal, and now it's time to finish off the fight. So I dropped the SP2 here, and it does some pretty nice damage output, but the Incinerates are just ticking for so much now, and this is pretty much a wrap. And that was about 55 seconds, so pretty good stuff there. And now we have Old Man Logan to close out this video. Old Man Logan here has Arrogance, which is kind of annoying, but he also has a ton of buffs, so this should be very fun, and it indeed is very fun. So to start the fight, I'm just gonna bait the SP1 here for the extra buffs. But now it's time for the SP2, so I just wait out the Arrogance timer, then I drop the SP2, and it does some pretty good damage to start off with, but like I said, it's just the start, right? But keep in mind, this Old Man Logan has return policy, so you can't nullify his buffs, or else you will take a lot of damage from the SP3 when he gains a burst of power. So yeah, you can't nullify him, but you can do the Soul Barb damage to him, which is perfect, right? Because look at this damage, man. It is just getting higher and higher, and yeah, he is getting melted very fast now. Here he drops the SP1, perfect. We drop the SP2, and yeah, look at that, man. What, over like 9,000 damage right there. And I thought it was over here, but it's not, because of Lazarus. So there is that part of this fight as well, because look at that regen. Yeah, you hate to see it, but it is what it is. Then here I dropped the SP2 yet again, and the regen is still there, but you know what? We're just going to outdamage it because we can. Kushala has that reach to do it, so there is pretty much no worries here. And this is now over. After that one last Lazarus cycle, now it's over, hopefully. Yes, we get it down here. So, yeah, that Old Man Logan fight, for having like 2 health pools isn't too bad at all. Like a minute 30, that is pretty dang good. But yeah, Kushala is just a great champion so far, man. She has dual buff punishment, which is just such a good ability. It makes her very, very versatile, and she works for so many things because of it. So I think Kushala is a great addition to the game. She has some phenomenal damage output. The utility is very good generally, and she also has some niche quirks too. So yeah, overall, very good kit, a very strong champion so far. So let me know your thoughts on Kushala, and yeah, that's about it for me.